Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for checking out this video here on Show Style and Spirit. I am Ebony, of course. And as you can see from the title of this video, watching Lexi McCollum's latest video on her YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe and check out her content and hit that like button. Lexi is the epitome of doing the work, definitely showing evidence of going through her healing journey, experiencing some healing. What a wonderful feeling, because she empathizes with the woman whom, in my opinion, reminds me of the movie Mommy Dearest. And when that movie would come on cable when I was a kid, I was afraid of that lady because of her really thick eyebrows and how she would treat the kids. So let's get into it all. And we're going to talk about the profound insight that Lexi has into her stepmother, Nell, where she shines a light on Chris Fletcher's behavior towards Nell. We're going to get into it all. Now, before we do, I ask that you please hit the like button on this video. Please subscribe to the channel and understand that everything that I'm saying in this video is alleged and just my opinion. All right, so shout out to Lexi for being so open and forthcoming with all of us. I'm sure it is also liberating and free for her to speak her heart, speak her truth, get things off of her chest. At one point in tonight's video, Lexi even said, "It feels like I'm talking to her right now." That is a very good sign, a very good feeling to have. That lets me know that Lexi is getting a lot of these painful experiences off of her mind and heart. She's just letting it go with each piece of content that she's making. So good for her. Now, you may not start a YouTube channel, but you can always buy a journal or a notebook and journal your feelings out. That helps as well. But let's keep going. So Lexi said that she's known her stepmom, Nell, since she was 2 or 3 years old. And there was a period when the Fletchers moved from Atlanta to Harvest, Alabama, that Lexi could not reach her dad, Chris Fletcher. And it was really strange. It was for an extended period of time. She would call Nell, and it sounds like Nell would just kind of like, shoot the breeze with her, kind of just give her any sort of response. And Lexi is wondering as a kid, where's my dad? Lexi would later learn that Chris and Nell Fletcher were separated. Allegedly, Chris left his wife for another woman who had kids. So we've heard of them speak about being separated. I do wonder, though, if they were separated more than one time. But at least they've been separated once, and that was something that was not clarified for Lexi. And I think that that's really strange for Nell to let the child call her, wonder where her dad is, wonder why she has not heard from him, and she doesn't get a clue. At the same time, Chris Fletcher knew that he had a child who did not live under the same roof as his other kids. Why didn't he reach out to his child and say, "Baby, I'm not with your stepmom right now." Sometimes adults have to figure things out. We don't have all the answers either. And so that's why I'm not with her right now. And I'm sorry that you hadn't heard from me in a while. Like, oh my gosh. Some men, they act like children, like they never grow up and they never use their brain cells, or they actually walk around and act like their brains are not fully developed. Lexi was 10 when the Fletchers adopted their niece Kiki. And prior to them adopting Kiki, when Lexi would go down to visit the Fletchers, she never had a room of her own or her own toys or anything. And it really didn't bother her when she was a young girl. She didn't feel a way until Chris and Nell Fletcher adopted their niece Kiki, because Kiki had her own room, and Lexi did not understand as a child why she did not have a room. And when she asked Nell about it as a kid, Nell actually told her, well, you have a room at your mom's house. Okay, Nell, that totally does not explain why when she visits her dad, she doesn't have a room. That's literally treating her like she is a second class citizen. Or remember when Hurricane Katrina happened and the people, they were displaced because of the hurricane. And the media would refer to them and the government would refer to the people as refugees, and all of us everywhere else, we would all say to each other, why do they keep calling the residents of New Orleans refugees? Like, why is that? They're acting like they're not from here. And I have to say, I had that thought when listening to Lexi. I'm like, Nell is treating her like she's a quote unquote refugee in Hurricane Katrina, and not making her feel a part of the family. Now, Lexi also explained periods where the Fletchers struggled financially. And, I want to say this and then I'll get into the specifics of what she said. Throughout life, if you do find yourself going through hills and valleys when it comes to money, know that you will make some more money. It's going to always come back around to you. Opportunities will always come. There's always opportunities for additional streams of income. You will definitely make some more money. And if unfortunately you were to lose out on some money, in my opinion, it will be restored. It will come back to you. So that's just what I believe. But in any event, when the Fletchers moved from Atlanta to Harvest, Alabama, initially they lived with friends. And Lexi said that house had a lot going on. It had 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, but it housed 4 adults because you had the Fletchers, Chris and Nell, plus the 2 other adult friends that was their house. Then the 2 friends, they had 2 daughters. And then the Fletchers had their 3 kids and their niece Kiki. So that was 10 people living in a 3 bedroom house. And Lexi said when she would go visit, it was all good though, because of the spacing issue and all the people, she said she would sleep on the sofa or on the floor. And it just felt like, a really long sleepover. As a kid, you definitely, it's much easier. I feel like kids can make the best of a situation, and it doesn't always take a lot to make them happy. And I think that when you become adults, sometimes you lose that. So it is important to try and reconnect to that child in you that can find joy in like some of the smallest things. So I had that thought while listening to Lexi as well. She said that when they moved to Harvest, Alabama initially, Nell worked at a dollar store. And this is very interesting. Lexi described Nell as quieter. She said, I don't know, that's the only way I can explain it. She was like quieter during that time when she worked at the dollar store. And when she would come home from work, she would need about an hour to herself. Probably, dealing with customers. Some of them may have been mean. She's on her feet all day. Maybe she wanted to like shower and freshen up and not talk after having to talk and greet people all day. But with her being quieter, I did wonder, like, I wonder, did Nell go through a depression? Sometimes, because they say like 80 to 90% of Americans do not like their job. And sometimes, like, you would have to really pray and really tap into your spirituality to say, okay, well, I'm thankful that I have a job. I'm thankful that I have a job that pays my bills on time. I'm thankful that I have a job where I can still save some money after I pay my bills. I'm thankful that I have a job with insurance. And, you have to coach yourself and walk yourself through those things if it is a job that you do not like. And so she said that Nell was quieter during this time. And I wonder, if it was depression or if she was just waiting for what would come next. Because Lexi talked about when their income did become more stable and they actually, they qualified to buy a house. Lexi said that there was a shift. And she said that Nell became angry. And allegedly, Nell would curse Chris out publicly, belittle Lance. She would be at a restaurant and she would just start going off on Chris, airing out all of his dirty laundry, his mistakes that he made, how he left her and the kids for another woman. And I was like, whoa. I feel like that is the Nell that we have seen on TV in the infamous dinner scene with Lexi. And I imagine that the kids, they could tell a lot too. I bet they have a lot of stories. They obviously just ignore it because Nell and Chris help them financially. And now I feel like the money that they give, it's probably guilt money. Like Nell probably knows she may have inflicted some trauma upon her kids. So the money that she gives is guilt money, in my opinion. Now, Lexi said that Nell would yell at her. And when she would visit, say, we pay child support. So why do you need for us to pay to take you out to eat? Like when they would go to restaurants and Lexi would be visiting, she said that Nell would always tell her, we pay child support. So Nell expected the mother to take some of the child support and give it to Lexi when she would go down to visit her dad. Almost like Lexi and her dad are going out Dutch. Chris is going to pay for his meal, and the kid whom he helped produce, his sperm fertilized the egg and made Lexi. Lexi, the child, is going to pay for her meal. They're going out Dutch. Shame on Nell. Why sign up to be a stepmom if you're going to tally and count what alleged child support is being paid? And we're going to circle back around to that in a moment as well. Here is the part that I think is just horrible. Lexi would talk about Nell taking the kids out shopping. She would let Lexi come along. She would buy her kids things, clothes or whatever. And Lexi would say, can I get this? And Nell would tell her, we pay child support. So you need to get the money from your mom. And she wouldn't buy her anything. I think that is ridiculous. Lexi was a child. She didn't understand child support. What kind of parent would her mom be if she's just like telling her, like, yes, I get $100 every week from your dad. And, I'm going to put this up, or I'm going to pay the utilities and the groceries and put the rest up in a savings account. Like, why have such adult conversations with the child? And I feel like Nell taking Lexi along with her on these shopping trips, it was to bait her. It was to get her to want something material so that Nell could reject her. Nell got to experience rejecting someone. She must have experienced some form of gratification, satisfaction from denying the child something. And I feel like she was taking her anger out on Lexi. Lexi was a kid. That was not her fault. And I just want to clarify again that when at the dinner scene, when Lexi was saying everyone has gotten a luxury car except for me, she wasn't obsessed or looking for a car that was luxurious. She was making the point that you all treat the rest of the kids a lot different than you treat me. That was the only point that she was making. And, Queen Sheba says all the time, take a pause. Take a pause and really try to analyze. Or sometimes you may have to wait. Sometimes you have to wait to get to the result. And I think that everyone rushed to judgment when it came to Lexi, and a lot of things totally went over some people's heads. And Lexi described that when their income increased, the Fletchers lived in Madison, Alabama. And that is when she described the shopping trips and how Nell would purposely reject her. Now, Lexi later learned that child support was not really paid, in current time in a timely manner. She said that Chris Fletcher paid the child support in arrears, and she asked everyone watching the video to take a guess at what age Lexi was once Chris Fletcher was caught up with the child support payments. She says she's 33 years old now. And see, when I was a mortgage banker, when I was a loan officer, if a man or anybody who owed child support, if they didn't pay it, it hit your credit. And when that loan, when you run it through the underwriting system, whether if they want a government loan and you're going to run it through the FHA or VA underwriting system, or if they want a conventional loan, you run it through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, those underwriting systems, they're going to pick that shit up. Okay. So, like, a person would have to be caught up on the child support so that it does not read derogatory on that credit report or get on some sort of like payment plan. And I know when you are a loan officer, you do have to have good credit and you can't be caught up in anything. Like they don't really want to issue licenses to like someone who may have a bunch of bankruptcies and foreclosures all over the place. So I do wonder, it's just a thought that enters my mind, if also with Chris being a realtor, if he had to clean some of that up, and that's why he was paying that child support in arrears. Because when you're working in real estate and any sort of financial job, you don't want to, like the government, they're not going to like allow licenses to you if they suspect that you may commit some sort of financial crime, whether it's out of desperation or whatever. So I had that thought as well, for him to care enough to even pay it back in arrears. What age do you think Lexi was once he was caught up? It sounds like it was extremely recent. All right. So Lexi described a time when she was visiting in Alabama. Her car got broken into, and the Fletchers told her that they would pay for the repairs to the vehicle to her window. They did not follow through, and that angered Lexi. And she said she was like letting her dad know she was upset. And she said that Nell chimed in and said, "You need to use that child support." Like I can tell that Lexi is on her healing journey because she could tell these stories without getting teary eyed and crying and without raging. She's almost making light of it. At times, she's even almost laughing. And she'll stop herself and say, "I know it's not funny." But, she can't help but laugh at this woman's behavior when she was a kid and Lexi and Nell is the adult saying that you need to use that child support. And then knowing her husband really wasn't paying it, allegedly, Chris. And I'm repeating what Lexi is saying, so I don't know if he had her thinking that he was paying child support. Did these two keep separate bank accounts when they were married? I know there were times I've watched even this current season of Love and Marriage Huntsville. I've like watched their scenes and I feel like they say stuff that sounds like they actually do keep their finances separate. Like when Nell does bitch about giving the kids money, it sounds like it comes out of her individual account sometimes where just her name is on it. It sounds like Chris and Nell do keep some accounts separate, some income separate. And so, if that is the case, if I am correct, perhaps he had Nell thinking that he was paying child support all those years. Perhaps whenever she asked for something and he couldn't give it to her, perhaps Chris told Nell, "Oh, well, I can't because I paid child support." Lexi was used as a pawn for any financial issues, just like how Martell tried to manipulate Melody and tell her crazy stuff, and he manipulates other people on the cast and tells them crazy stuff. Maybe Chris tried it with Nell as well. And um, Lexi talked about how Lance's first wife, allegedly Nell spent $12,000 on Lance's first wife. She said, I don't know if that's true, but that's what they said. And I was wondering, like, I wonder, did they embellish? Was it really like 1,200? Did she describe the time of being out at the mall at Victoria's Secret? And, Nell allegedly spent thousands and thousands of dollars on Lance's first wife. And Lexi asks, can I get this Victoria's Secret jogging suit? And initially, Nell was acting like it was a problem. Then fast forward to Christmas of that year, Lexi goes down to visit, and they've given her some Victoria's Secret items for Christmas. But the trade-off to that is Nell also got some of her kids luxury vehicles. And when Lexi's like, whoa, they get such cool stuff. And she said, Nell was like, well, we got you the Victoria's Secret stuff that you wanted. That is like gaslighting. And again, it's giving refugee, like, and you're placing value on the kids. You're making the other kids seem like they are more valuable to you than Lexi. And that's not a cool feeling. But the whole buying her Victoria's Secrets. So if she said, wow, how come you always get the short end of the stick? They're like, well, that's what you wanted. That's manipulation. That's gaslighting, in my opinion. Now, Lexi feels that her dad, Chris, did not love Nell properly. And that's why Nell was mean to Lexi. She took it out on Lexi. I feel like that is so profound, so wise and mature on behalf of Lexi, for her to put herself in Nell Fletcher's shoes and try to understand why her stepmother was so mean and biased and slanted, in regards to Lexi. I think that that's very profound. And so I do not see bitterness in Lexi. In fact, there's definitely healing, because that's why there's so much room in her heart to have empathy towards Nell. And just in my opinion, you can have empathy for someone and still not fuck with them. Okay? You can. It's definitely possible, because especially when that person has not done their healing, and they would still manipulate you, still disrespect you if you were to let them back into your life. So you can have empathy for a person and still not fuck with that person. And that's totally fine. Now, as far as Chris not loving Nell properly, allegedly he stepped out on her and they were separated. Carlos asked Nell on his YouTube channel about a year ago, is it true that when Chris Fletcher cheated on you, you went to the girl's apartment and beat her up? I feel like that is the price that Nell paid for being the side chick. If you date a man who's unavailable, and he's unavailable because he's married, you're already settling for less. And that's the price that you're going to pay if you're going to choose to be a side chick. Tonight is Valentine's Day. Of course, I went to the movies. I saw an action movie, and I came home and I created content. But I had a good time tonight at the movies. The movie was entertaining, and I'm nobody's side chick, nor am I going to settle for bullshit. So I kick it alone, and it's all good. Embrace solitude. Now, Lexi, again, she shows empathy to Nell. She said that she has forgiven Nell. Lexi, during this video tonight, she posed the question, if Chris did right by Nell, would Nell have done right by Lexi? I think that that's a great question. That is the $1 million question. We can only hope, because even if Chris Fletcher did love Nell properly, meaning when he got with Nell, Chris and Miss Cornelia were already divorced. And then he dated Nell, married her, and did not cheat on her. I still say it would still be a heart posture on behalf of Nell in order for her to do right by Lexi. Like if there was any insecurity over him having a daughter with another woman, if there was any jealousy over each time he spent time alone with Lexi, which we know Lexi said she's never been able to enjoy her dad, just the two of them. But if there was any sort of jealousy or insecurity about such things, then I don't think Nell would have been able to do right by Lexi, unfortunately. So it wouldn't 100% be on Chris. It would also have to be the condition of Nell's heart, just in my opinion. Lexi said that prior to that dinner scene that we saw, she's never cursed out Nell. Lexi said that she is scared of Nell. She said because she has seen Nell fight and she can fight. And Lexi says she's not a fighter. Neither am I, Lexi. And Lexi said that she spoke up during that dinner scene because there were witnesses. You know, there was the filming crew, there was the siblings, there was Lexi's own husband. So she knew that Nell would not hit her while those cameras were rolling. Good for you, Lexi. And Lexi is at a point where she does not need the apology. That is an amazing place to be in. And I am oh so happy for Lexi that she is in that place. When you do not need the apology from the person or people, that's when you have accepted that they are who they are. You do not expect anything better from them, or if they're the type that's saying I ain't changing, they're not open-minded. They're not going to do the healing work themselves, so they can't love themselves properly, so they for damn sure can't love you. When you accept those things, you do not even need an apology because you don't need anything that they are incapable of giving anyway. So I am loving Lexi's content, not just because it's about cast members from Love and Marriage Huntsville, but because Homegirl is so profound and you can really get so many takeaways from her content. It is absolutely amazing. And I hope that you all are having a happy Valentine's Day. I did. I cannot complain. And I just wanted to enjoy the evening. I'm going to get out. My goal is to get out early because we're supposed to get more snow tomorrow. We got about 3 inches yesterday. So my landscaper, he did come shovel, and then that's how I was able to get out and hang out. So yeah, and I'm gonna get out tomorrow. I'm gonna probably grab a Starbucks and read some of the Family Business 7, and yeah, and go from there. Well, I will talk with you all soon. Take good care. Bye.